Hey, welcome to this beautiful Thursday. We're so glad you've joined us. This whole week, we've been challenging you to consider what if you're more powerful than you know, because we know that you are. But there's dozens of forms of power you can have that we often don't recognize or walk in. And this week, we've been examining just 5 of those ways. On Monday, we discussed the power of choice. Tuesday, we looked at the power of your words. Yesterday, we looked at the power of the story you tell yourself. And if you missed any of those episodes, boy, you might find it really enlightening to just back up a little bit and take those in. But today, we're going to be talking about the power of overcoming the past. See, the issue here and why we call this to your attention is that strong women like us, like you, tend to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and power through. And we think that's us exerting our power, and maybe for the moment it is. It seems to serve the purpose in the moment. But where we get into trouble is this becomes a way of life. We shouldn't have to live pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps and powering through. That is not meant to be a lifestyle. That's meant to be a crisis mode. And there's positive and negative implications of using this strategy in your life. The outcome of that, when it's done for too long, as just sort of a way of being, there's some seriously negative implications, right? I mean, what do you think about that, Wendy?
The bootstrap method is meant to be survival mode,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're not designed to be in survival mode. We do need to survive some things sometimes. Life happens, hard things happen, unfair
Mm-hmm.
things happen, and sometimes we do just have to power through. But survival mode isn't meant to be every day for the rest of your life.
That's right.
And that really is unsustainable. And I think for a lot of women, survival mode is just default. There isn't a lot of rest or peace or calm. And I know I've told that story here either on this podcast or our previous version of this, but how when I was first starting in private practice, I had a mentor there and I did ask, why are there so many women in their 40s and 50s here? And she looked at me and she said, well, that's when we get tired.
Mm-hmm.
If you have enough energy to just force it and push through and follow through and make things happen, that feels like power.
Mm-hmm.
And you are getting things done. You are oftentimes making life work, but you're paying a really horrible price, and
Yes.
an unsustainable pace of life is part of that. So you can't do that forever. And when we talk about overcoming the past, a lot of times women who are pulling themselves up by the bootstraps or powering through, it's because they've had really hard, really painful things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're doing is out of self-protection or out of pain or out of fear. Those emotions can power a lot of survival mode thinking and actions.
And that way of thinking and being was necessary maybe when we were with the narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
The
Survival
problem
mode is good when you're surviving.
yeah. But we become conditioned to that's our normal way of being.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't challenge it. Like maybe when the narcissist is gone, we make a few changes, like we change a little bit, just enough, but we're still a lot in this mode. And it's habitual at this point. So it's really important to challenge what we're doing here with this. And so one of these things that we just need to clarify here is, what does it really mean to overcome the past? So just a geographical cure, like you're away from the narcissist, that's not it. That's maybe the starting blocks for
That can
things.
get you out of some of the survival mode things because
Mm-hmm.
you're not being actively abused. Good start.
Right. But what does it really look like when we say we're overcoming the past? And this isn't just something that you can just sit down and read a book and go, I'm good to go now. Like everything we do, coaching programs, individual coaching, reading books, all this kind of stuff, these are all components that help us with the pieces that we need to challenge some things in our life, especially when it is habitual. And we need to make these better patterns in our life. But it means that we're going to do what it takes, and we're going to adopt as a lifestyle this process of house cleaning and handling our heart well, examining our thoughts, our words, making sure that we're on the right, looking at where we want to go and thinking about what's the path from where I am now, assessing where we are now, and what's it going to take to get me where I want to go, and what's this path that I start marking out, going through there. So in other words, overcoming the past and just moving into more healthy ways of thinking and being and just functioning in life. This is a new lifestyle that we're creating for ourselves. So, Wendy, what's some suggestions you have of where we might start with some of this?
Well, I did a lot of marital therapy when I was practicing as a therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times one of the partners was very invested and the other was very not invested. And a lot of times it had to do with the time or the money. They might have been invested in the marriage, which was good. But the idea of being in therapy to help the marriage made no sense. And so I used to tell them, well, it's kind of like if you need a new kitchen in your house, you can, on your own, go get a bunch of books, read about how to take all the stuff out, and then you can start, watch some videos, do a lot of YouTubing, and then start doing it on your own, and then teach yourself how to put in the electric, teach yourself how to put in the plumbing, and then figure things out. You're going to have a lot of rework. It's going to take you a ton of time because everything you're doing, you're going to have to do some research, figure it out, practice, make a couple mistakes. But will you end up with a new kitchen at the end of that for cheaper than you would have if you went to therapy? Yeah. Will it take a lot longer? Will you be inconvenienced for a lot longer? Will you be washing dishes in the bathtub for 3 years instead of 6 months? Yeah, but it's doable. The other option is to hire the contractor who's done 500 kitchens and can come in and say, we suggest this type of layout. This will work here. I've got an electrician. I've got a plumber. It's going to cost you more, but I have a plan. You can work the plan. And in
someone
6 months'
who's
time,
knowledgeable and saves you the cost of all those mistakes.
They've seen 500 kitchens and they have a bunch of different things that they are used to doing to make your space and that room work for you and your family. Can you bootstrap this type of healing? Of course you can. You can read a lot of books. You can watch a lot of YouTube. You can do a lot of journaling. You can take a lot of time. The other option is to find people who have walked this path before and helped other people walk this path. And
by the way, to interrupt you with that, when you're looking at people who've walked this path, look for the fruit in their life.
Yeah.
And if you want that kind of fruit in your life, then listen to what they say.
Yeah. You don't want the grifter. You want someone who is showing a godly, healthy lifestyle, who has a life that you want and has a character that you can appreciate and respect. And so, you can't just choose anybody, but it's good to find help. And there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of coaches. There's a lot of therapists like you, Annette, especially in this space of healing from narcissistic abuse. You've got free classes and free just things people can read and look at and watch. And then you've got your whole academy. Like, what of your classes, where would you tell someone to start who, maybe saw you in the grocery store and like, okay, where would I start? Like, where would you send them?
Yeah, I think the first thing I'd recommend, and even people who come through my coaching programs, I kind of start them at this point as well, because it's a good foundation. And then we build on some things. I've got this complimentary on-demand masterclass that you can walk your way through it. And it's broken down in little chunks. There isn't even any homework. It's educational. And it's called Make It Make Sense. And there I teach on what I call my narc encounter spectrum. And we do a lot of breakdown. We talk about what this looks like from a Christian vantage point. There's a lot there. In that masterclass, which is completely complimentary because I just know that this is so important and it's just a good basic thing. You can go to AnnetteChesney.com/make-sense. We've also got a link right in the description of this episode for you. And then beyond that, you mentioned the Cinderella No More Academy. And if you'd like to know more about that, just shoot me an email at hello@AnnetteChesney.com. I'd be glad to chat with you about that and give you some information. And in the academy, we walk very systematically through a process of this over a period of time. It's not a quick hit. There are no drop it on you and here, do this, and hey, you're all good to go. We work on changing the lifestyle, changing the way you think, house cleaning with the heart, giving you the tools you need. So whether it's 5 years down the road, something happens, and not just narcissistic abuse, but other things in life, that you know what to do with that, not just shelf it, but you know how to actually work through it. So good in you comes out of it. And our goal ultimately is to lead you to the place that you are better than you were before the narcissist. That you can actually look back and realize, that was horrible. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. I certainly don't want to go through it again, but God brought good from that in my life because that was a catalyst for me changing in ways that I need to change. So you can find, again, links for all this in there, but you can always just email me at hello@AnnetteChesney.com, and I'll be glad to, get you some information, point you in a direction, any way I can help.
The main message is don't feel like you have to recreate the wheel. There's resources and options out there to walk you through this because it takes time, effort, repetition of effort to heal from a hard task.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't need to take more time than it needs to take.
Yeah. You don't have to do it in a vacuum. You move faster, you move deeper and more thoroughly when you're in the context of relationships, healthy relationships with those who get it and can provide guidance and support and encouragement, can hold up your arms when you need it. It makes a big difference. Yeah. So tomorrow, we're going to wrap up this theme that we've been doing this week. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about the power of wisdom gained. So we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Hope you'll join us in with that. But remember today, focus on becoming 1% better than you were yesterday. You don't have to do it all in one shot. You don't have to be overwhelmed. 1% better, because it's all cumulative. Remember, once again, that email is hello@AnnetteChesney.com. Be sure to check the show description for links to helpful resources. We want to encourage you to keep going because your best is yet to come. And we'll talk with you tomorrow. See you then.